Here's what's coming up in the next 55 minutes. We discuss agri-business trends in Nigeria as we gauge what investors are looking at right now. An Absa Group says South Africa's economy looks set for bigger growth in 2025. And Kengen secures geothermal exploration rights in Zambia and Tanzania. And it's great to have you join us. I'm Ladi Williams. Let's get a check on what's playing out with the markets that we track. Starting with the metals market, let's see what's playing out with gold that we're seeing red on the screen. With gold unchanged. Spot gold, $3,019 per ounce unchanged. Still holding on to that $3,000 psychological level. But we see the U.S. gold futures, that's down 0.10%. It's red across board. Spot silver yesterday outshined most of the metals that we tried, but today we're seeing a downturn there, $33.69 per ounce, and palladium's not left out. At this point, we're still seeing some kind of certainty in the market going forward. Right now, that's what we're seeing, sell-offs there with most of the metals, but who knows what will play out later on with most of the tariff announcements. All right, let's get a check on what's happening with oil now. We're seeing oil prices, they edge higher today on concerns about tighter global supply. That's growing at this point, 0.67% up for Brent crude, $73.51 a barrel. WTI not able to cross that $70 psychological level yet, but it's almost there, but it's up 0.70% today. So traders are still watching there, expecting what's playing out with inventories with the U.S. So if we see a shortfall, that might be more bullish for oil going forward. All right, let's get a check on other stories now. We see the African Development Bank they've launched a new country strategy paper that's to boost agriculture and enhance economic growth in Nigeria. This was made known by the Director General of AFDB's Nigeria Country Department, Dr. Abdul Kamar, who led the delegation to meet the Finance Minister, Mr. Wale Edun. It says part of the strategy includes the second phase of the National Agricultural Growth Scheme, which focuses on food security and rural development. The AFDB's representative also highlighted infrastructure progress in the special agro-industrial processing zones with advancements in Sokoto and planned expansions in Cross River and Kaduna states. And now let's get a check on what's playing out. That's with money supply. We see the total amount of money in the country recorded a 3-month low of 110.3 trillion naira. That's in February. That's according to the latest report from the Central Bank of Nigeria. This comes on the back of the liquidity mop-ups carried out by the financial market regulator as part of its efforts to control inflationary pressure. In its money and credit data, the CBN mentioned that money supply declined slightly by 0.6% month-on-month to 110.32 trillion naira last month, marking a 622 billion naira drop compared to 110.94 trillion naira recorded in January. Meanwhile, analysts say the decline in money supply shows that a measure put in place by the CBN to curtail inflation, which includes mopping up of excess liquidity, that's working and is expected to have a moderating impact on inflation. All right, to other stories now. We see the Lagos State government in partnership with the Enterprise GR under the platform of the Lagos International Financial Council signed a memorandum of understanding with the City of UK and the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office for the development of an international financial center in Lagos to drive economic growth. Speaking at the ceremony held in Lagos House Marina, Governor Sanwo-Olu says his administration is truly committed to achieving the Lagos International Financial Center, therefore seeks everybody's support to make the vision a reality. Take a listen.
The Lagos State Governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, joined stakeholders in the financial market and some members of the State Executive Council at Lagos Marina for the signing of a memorandum of understanding between the Lagos International Financial Center, the City of UK, and the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office for the development of an international financial center in Lagos to drive economic growth. Before the signing ceremony, the State Commissioner for Finance explains the reason behind the Lagos International Financial Center.
We believe that today marks the beginning of a serious journey, a journey that we believe will transform the economy of Lagos State and, of course, the economy of Nigeria.
The co-chairman of LIFC, Mr. Agric, commends the state government for driving the dream of the LIFC.
Mr. Governor, today we are carrying the flag of Lagos State, of Nigeria, and indeed Africa, that says we are getting to the promised land of an international financial center in Lagos and for Nigeria. There's still a lot of work to be done, but the fact that we have gotten to this point, a point that before now, as a nation and as a people, we found it so difficult to, I think that speaks volumes. I think that also the assistance we've received from the British government and City UK, who have assisted a number of other countries that have made this journey successfully, is one that must be applauded.
Also speaking, the Director of International Development of the City UK, Anna Rogers, says the partnership will bring everybody together to make Lagos a successful powerhouse on the African continent.
The City UK and our members are proud to be a key strategic partner for the development of LIFC and are deeply impressed at Lagos State's agenda in progressing its establishment. I think this is something that's highly commendable, and we are very excited to be part of that journey.
Governor Sanwo-Olu expresses appreciation to all the partners for the establishment of the International Financial Center that requires more commitment.
We are extremely very grateful. We are also encouraged by this set of commitments for us to work twice as hard, twice as much, twice as better to achieve the set objective. At the end of the day, it is not just about us. It is about a conversation of putting our country and putting the investable public, both local and international, on a platform that will make businesses work better, that will create an ambience of a more predictable, reliable financial center in this part of the world.
After the speeches, they all put pen to paper, signing a strong partnership that signals the beginning of making Lagos State the first in sub-Saharan Africa that will get an international financial center.
All right, to other matters now. Is see the British Council in Smedon is seeking new ways to empower women in business. The discussion, which was held in Lagos, Nigeria's commercial capital, had in attendance operators of women-owned businesses as well as support associations. Take a listen.
Small and Medium Enterprises Development Agency of Nigeria, SMEDAN, with the British Council, are organizing this stakeholder engagement session on enhancing access to finance for women-owned enterprises in the country. Both agree that the place of small businesses cannot be overemphasized, and so empowering every contributor to the subsector is very necessary.
The MSME subsector, according to the National Bureau of Statistics report, contributes about 46% of the total GDP and also account for about 96% of all businesses. And they also contribute about 6.2% to total export basket and is responsible for about 87% of total employment in the country.
As the UK's international organisation for cultural relations, ensuring equal opportunity for everyone across gender, ethnicity, religious belief and beyond is at the core of what we do at the British Council. And our vision of a more peaceful and prosperous world built on trust can really only be achieved when women, who constitute half of the population are provided with the right networks and access to finance to jumpstart and scale up their enterprises.
The core of the meeting is shared by members of a panel, which consists of representatives of women in business, the organizers, as well as bodies and associations concerned about women financial literacy and funding. From their transactions before now, they share tips for progress.
In as much as you want money as a woman, you must be very careful to know who you're collecting money from. And this comes to due diligence. Yes, people that are giving you money, obviously they do their due diligence on you. Like she said, I'm not going to give you money if you're showing me your child's last name, your father's name, and everybody that's on the document has the same last name as yours. I'm not going to give you money.
We're not just talking about the typical savings and credit. We're also talking about insurance. We're talking about payments, remittances, investments as well, because there are different types of financial services that, when properly utilized, can elevate the level of well-being and good livelihood for families.
At the end of the conversations, a communique is adopted, documented, and promises made by both the British Council and SMEDAN to follow up for implementation.
All right, now to our first conversation. Nigeria's agricultural sector is at a turning point, booming with untapped potential, yet facing critical challenges with over 70% of its land suitable for farming, and a young and tech-savvy population and increasing government incentives. Agribusiness is becoming one of Nigeria's most lucrative investment frontiers. But where exactly are the opportunities? That's our next conversation. Now, joining me for this is Bountiful Atako, is the managing director. Alana Green Limited has joined me right here in the studio. It's great to have you. It's been a while.
Thank you for having me, lad. It's good to see you as well.
Yeah, good to see you. Yeah, and you know, the last time we spoke, you know, it's still the same issue, you know, at this point. You know, food security, we're trying to get more Nigerians, you know, fed. We have what it takes, but, you know, we still have that untapped potential. But, you know, at the end of the day, investors need to make a decision. Talk to me about, you know, some of the profitable ventures you're seeing right now, trends, you know, with the agribusiness, you know, sector. Where are the investors looking at, or where should they be looking at this point?
Okay, so obviously, I'm sure you expect me to have some bias because, you know, our work, exactly, our work at Alana Green is focused on mechanization, and I think that, you know, it's an untapped potential that is there for agribusiness. Investors can look at investing in mechanization because it's really the ingredient that farmers lack to sustainable production. That's one. Secondly, I think that drone technology is taking shape. We're able to see solutions around field management.
In diaspora have the responsibility at this point to invest in our agri-business sector. I'll tell you why, because, you know, Tony Elumelu says a lot that when you look at Africa, you see risk, but when he looks at Africa, he sees opportunities. And I think that that's the lens that Nigerians in diaspora need to look at. And, you know, honestly speaking, the currency is really bad, right? But that can be an advantage because they are earning so much more than we are earning here. If they identify portfolio companies that they want to do business with, some sort, and then invest in these companies, I think it would be great for our economy.
And it's quite interesting because, you know, some would say, you know, a weak currency is great for them, you know, because they're exporting more, you know, so an international market can buy and they would want to buy because your currency is weaker. So how do we take advantage of that? You know, but it's hard, you know, when you're import dependent, it's a bad thing, you know, for you.
I think that investing is great. But there has to be a lens to it. There has to be a goal. I don't know, you know, but there has to be purpose to whatever work that, you know, we do as a people. Our country is in dire need of help, and I speak as a concerned citizen and from my vantage position as the MD at Alana Green, because this is what I tell my team. I say we have a responsibility as Nigerians to do better, right? The global status quo of where Nigerians are today is terrible, and I think first things first, let's talk about food, which is, you know, the paramount need of every human being. If we take it dutifully, like we have seen China done in the past, like we also saw the case with India, these people were determined, to move themselves from subsistence farming to sustainable growing. So I think that it's not to anybody's advantage if the economy is weak, because we're Africans, particularly Nigerians, and we live a communal lifestyle. So what you take home today doesn't go to just you or just the family back at home. It goes to, their relations, relatives. That's interesting, an interesting word to call it. So when you look at that, you want to also put the house in order so that you don't get all those calls and all those things. So we're at a great point in our agriculture. We have a teeming youth population. Nigeria's median today is 19 years. That tells us that in the next 20 to 25 years, our growers will still be relatively, quote and unquote, young, right? So we have an advantage. Digital agriculture, technology in agriculture, and then we need to hinge our entire strategy on our youth population. We need to encourage farming. We need to make them see that farming is lucrative. We need to put in more effort into advocating for these things. Better still, we need the government to do a lot on the policy end, and a whole lot of young people are championing great causes in the agri sector. I'll give you an instance. Today at Alana, we are building, launching our e-commerce platform where farmers are able to access mechanization, products or services from the comfort of their homes. Now, that's great for the growing population of farmers. But that's not all. We start back to say, how do we give value to farmers who will work with us on this product? And we discussed to put on a marketplace where processors, large companies, exporters can meet with the cooperative of farmers we work with there and offer premium prices, because we will be able to guarantee the quality of the produce that they're getting. So founders, particularly agri-tech founders, have a responsibility to build solutions, because we need these answers and we need them quick.
Yeah, we need them quite quick at this point in 2020. But thank you. Yeah. It was great having this conversation with you. Bountiful Matako is the Managing Director, Lana Green Limited. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Laddie. Cheers.
Anytime.
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll take a break now. When we come back, I will head straight to the markets, find out what's playing now with the local boss and most of the markets that we track. That's in a moment. Just stay with us. All right, let's get a check on what Anita Edit has for us and where the money is going at this point. Great to have you, Anita. It's another day, another naira, another dollar, whatever currency you're working with.
Yes, it's just unfortunate that the naira is not a convertible currency like the dollar, the euro, and the pounds and some other. But it's still what we spend.
We'll get there.
Exactly.
At some point.
Mm-hmm. I hope so. Maybe not in the near future, but sometime. Maybe in the distant future.
So how's the local boss looking today? It's another week and the last trading week of March, and we did get that rebound, at the start, and it seems it continued, somehow into Tuesday's trade. Yeah. But how's today looking? Is it still positive?
Well, Laddie, before I continue that, we have just about 2 trading days left in the month of March, right, which is tomorrow and Friday. And so far this week, let's say we've had about 2 gains so far. We first had the 0.54% on Monday and Tuesday 0.04%. But that of yesterday was just, it was countered by gains from the banks which started with UBA. Yesterday we saw Ardell and some other ones trying to pull the market into the bear territory. But alas, the market closed.
I guess saved by the banks.
Saved by the banks and not saved by the bells. But we'll take a look at how intraday market numbers. Well, okay, I think that was a bit of a fast fingers there. Okay, so now let's take a look at the market numbers at intraday for Nigeria's stock market, where we start off first. We saw that green imprint there. That color was just the last time I checked. That number, it was going in the green and some point in the red, just to show you that the market. It's really there's a bit of a bargain hunting and profit taking. But yesterday we saw high volume of trades there. But at intraday, if you can see that number on the screen there, the NGX all-share index was in the green, was up by about some 0.03% in the green. And at the same time, the Nairobi Stock Exchange All-Share Index was also in the green. But for the other two that we track, which is the EGX 30 and the Nairobi Stock Exchange All-Share Index, which closed Tuesday, it was in the red. So that was it for the markets. That's the Nigerian stock markets and the markets across the African continent. Okay, so now let's meander away a little bit from the equities market, the domestic equities market, and the continental equities market into the fixed income market. Yeah, for Monday, we started the fixed income market with the bonds auction, which is for the month of March, with 2 reopenings. And then we also have today, as we speak, the Treasury bills auction, the third one for the month of March. But before we talk about these two auctions being carried out by the Debt Management Office alongside the central bank, we've had it that yesterday, for the close of Tuesday's trading session, the Treasury bills secondary market, it was quiet, but with a bullish tilt. The average yield there, it decreased by 1 basis point to 19.2%. While for the bonds market, the bonds secondary market, it was a bearish close for that market. Average yield there increased by 3 basis points. So now let's delve a little bit deeper into the results of the DMO auction. We don't have it here on the screen, but the latest bond of it showed that there was a strong investor appetite for the 9-year tenor, which was cleared at 19.9%, while the 5-year bond saw a significantly weaker demand. That bond auction was held on March 24, 2025, with reopenings for the 19.30% FGN April 2029 5-year bond auction, as I mentioned, and the 19.89% FGN May 2033 9-year bond auction. Now, to give us details about this, as well as the ongoing Treasury bills auction by the DMO, let's bring in Kola Komolafe, fixed income dealer with Access Bank, for details of that. Thank you for joining us, Kola.
Hi, thank you for having me. How are you doing today?
Oh, couldn't be better. I'm sure I've done a bit of an explainer for the markets, how it closed. But give us details about this bond auction and then what's going on for the Treasury bills auction as we speak.
Yeah, so Monday we had the PMO come to offer bonds, total size of 300 billion. You already mentioned the maturities that were on offer. We had the 2029 bond and the 2033 bond, 300 billion again on offer. We saw healthy subscription levels of just over 500 billion, but the allotment was at just 271 billion naira, with most of the allotment done on the 2033. You're right, it closed at 19% for the 2029 and 19.9% for the 2033. Following that, there is an auction, an NTB auction today, where the DMO will be offering 700 billion naira across 3 tenors, that's the 91, 182, and the 364-day maturity. We have 1.18 trillion that will be maturing today, that's the NTB that will be maturing today. So it shows about 700 billion, or exactly 700 billion that will be on offer by the DMO. We're on the lookout to see where that will close. The 800 billion NTB auction that was conducted last week, we saw that stock rates have been inching upwards from the last 3 auctions that they've done. Last auction closed at 19.9. So we hope to see, or we are looking on lookout to see where this one would close. We think it will close around the 19 to 19.500. That's for the 1 year NTB.
Okay, Kola, I'm a bit curious now. Why is the DMO and the central bank conducting a third NTB auction? It's normally bi-weekly and twice in a month. So why is this intensity?
So if you recall, sometime last month, we saw stock rates really, really dip. We're used to those very attractive levels of over 20%. But then from February, we started to see a dip. The auction that was conducted on the 3rd of March, we saw stock rates on the 1 year close at 17.82. So we've seen a bit of knock-on effect also on the FX rate, where we've seen the investors divesting from the fixed income space, and then that has put, or we saw that it put a bit of pressure on the FX market. So there was a special auction, which was 800 billion on offer last week, where the past three auctions, we've seen that rates have been inching up just to keep the rate sort of attractive enough on the fixed income space. So I think that was sort of like maybe a market correction for the exceptional NCB auction that was held last week. So we've been seeing stock rates inch up and up. We don't think it's going to cross the 20% ceiling. Just under 20% is what we expect that stock rates to close today.
Okay, so it's just about 2 trading days left, and before we go into the Thursday and Friday, what is the outlook for the close of today for the fixed income markets, both the treasury bills and the bond, as well as the remaining days of this week?
And so it's been quite quiet today because participants are just on the lookout to see where the rates will close today, which will set the tone for the remaining trading sessions tomorrow and on Friday. Right, so we just want to see where it will close, and again that will set the tone. For the FX market, it's rates continue to hover around the 1540 levels. We don't think there will be anything significant. There won't be any significant change from that unless there is a market event that is strong enough to move them to move the needle much. So the fixed income market is really largely seeing where the NCB auction will close today.
Okay, so just about 20 seconds. How is we're about ending the first quarter of 2025. How would you assess the whole of the fixed income market within the quarter?
It's been rather busy, right? We've had bond auctions. We've had, of course, the bi-weekly ECB auctions. Rates have relatively remained elevated, except when we entered the month where we had rates dip to 17.8, then moved to 18.39, and now on 19.4. We think rates would trend today at those levels to close the quarter, right? So we'll be expecting to see that. So we also noted the trend, which is that maturities are not what is maturing on the NTB space is not what is exactly being on offer, right? We have 1.1 trillion maturing today, and only 700 billion of that will be refinanced by the DMO. So we might continue to see that trend going into next month. But that's what we noticed from this month, from the auctions that were conducted this month. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Kola Komolafe. And of course, we keep our eyes on how that NCB auction ends midweek trading session, and then look out for that result on Thursday.
Thank you.
That was Kola Komolafe, fixed income dealer with Access Bank, for details of the fixed income markets. Okay, from Africa, next spot is the Middle East, where we see the Middle East are mostly positive at intraday, except for the Dubai index, if we can have that there. The Dubai index down by 0.36%, 5,098, almost down to about 4,000 level. The Abu Dhabi is in the green, 0.32%. Tomorrow will be the last trading day for the markets, both on the United Arab Emirates. And speaking of the United Arab Emirates, which is a significant player within the global oil market, the price, the country is set to announce an increase in petrol price for the month of April. This is coming after the prices fell slightly this month, following an increase in March, and that had initially made it cheaper for those who are buying petrol and other petrol products. So it's not just Nigeria that witnesses this petrol increase among the OPEC countries, but this is it also. So I think Nigeria should take an example, buy an example from an oil-producing country like the United Arab Emirates, a very significant oil producer within the OPEC member countries. Okay, so now from the Dubai and the Abu Dhabi, we move over to Saudi Arabia and Qatar, where we see the pictures there in the green. Tadawul up 1.77%, 11,000. It is almost crossing into the 12,000 level. And the Qatari Stock Exchange, it has now made a rebound after so many days of downturn, 0.15% at intraday, 10,173.27 for the market index. So broadly positive, except for the Dubai index, which we saw just a couple of minutes ago. Okay, now from the Middle East, we move over into the United States, the world's #1 country. But this country is having lots of downgrades and negative sentiments, no thanks to President Donald Trump's tariff policies, which seem to have been dampening the world's #1 economic powerhouse. Dow Jones Industrial Average, almost little change, but yesterday, overnight, the three averages did close higher, but ahead of the opening bell later today, 2:30 Nigerian time, it's mostly pointing to a negative opening there. We have it here that British Universal Bank Barclays had cut its target. That's for the S&P, cut it to a low due to the tariff pressure. Which is caused by when President Donald Trump made that announcement. And not just Barclays, at the same time, we also have it that HSBC's Max Kettner, that's one of the staff there and economists there, he has also downgraded U.S. equities to underweight. That was on Tuesday, citing a sharp downturn in economic data and persistent uncertainty surrounding the trade tariff policy, as well as some other announcement by U.S. President Donald Trump. So it's more like a bashing for the U.S. economic performance. But later today, investors will be expecting economic data, which will be due out later today. That will be the February preliminary durable goods orders, as well as the average 30-year fixed mortgage lending rate. So they're also, that will be on Friday, they're also expecting the release of the personal consumption expenditure data, which is the PCE index, that's the US Fed's preferred inflation gauge. That'll be on Friday. So that'll also give an indicator into the health of the world's #1 economy. So that's it, a wrap for the markets. Asia was in the positive.
To look at right now. Definitely not an easy time to make decisions. You don't know if you're buying U.S. stocks, or you're going to Europe, or you're going to Asia, because the news just keeps getting louder and louder.
Exactly.
But you still have to make an investment decision. Well,
it definitely has
we'll
a
see how it plays
negative impact
out.
if it's not too good news.
Exactly.
It will have an impact on the market.
All right, thanks so much for giving us the details and what's playing out with most of those markets now. But let's take it on to Europe now. We see Germany has seen a number of strikes in recent weeks with workers asking for higher wages. As for those who can't organize and strike, a commission is debating about how much they should earn. And we're talking about minimum wage earners at this point. Lars Holter joins us now with DW. Great to have you, Lars.
Hi, Lottie. How you doing?
I'm doing great. So talk to me, Lars. How high is the minimum wage in Germany right now?
Yeah, Lottie, right now the minimum wage stands at 12.82 euros. And now a commission in charge of setting the minimum wage is debating how high it should go, with a headline number we're seeing at 15 euros. Now that would be up 17%. That is a lot. But recent raises over the last couple of years were slightly less than inflation. And that means that, of course, adjusted for inflation, minimum wage earners in Germany are actually making a little less today than they did 2 or 3 years ago. And that is, of course, especially hard as those people, the ones earning, let's say, the lowest income, don't have much financial wiggle room. They are facing inflation in rent and in basic foods, goods, household items, where they just can't escape it. They also don't benefit from those areas where there has been growth, like minimum wage earners usually don't have any stocks. So they are basically exposed to the problematic realities of the economy, but they do not partake in the areas where things are going well. Now, these 15 euros, of course, are the result of a new equation the Commission wants to use, that is in charge of setting the level to get to any number for the minimum wage. They're looking at the median wage in the entire country and then take 60% of that. But now this year they made a change for the first time ever. They're looking at the median wage of only full-time employees, not looking at the part-time workers. And that is what will make this coming raise seem a lot bigger.
But with such a big raise, coming, what are the reactions to this so far?
Yeah, Ladi, they are pretty much what you would expect. The unions and the left-wing parties, including the Social Democrats under still Chancellor Olaf Scholz, are proponents of that 15 euro minimum wage. But even the conservative CDU, that is the party that won the election and will likely put Friedrich Merz in the chancellery, they also have agreed to 15 euros in the current coalition talks. The other side, of course, in this debate is the employers. They say, and they're not entirely wrong, that in times of an ongoing economic crisis where profits are down and German products seem less competitive globally than in the past, that every extra cost is to be avoided as it makes companies even less competitive. However, it should be said that there are, of course, other ways for companies to cut that cost, not least at the higher level of wages. But to try to save money by taking it from the weakest in society is obviously not only preposterous, but it's also economically foolish. Because after all, every euro that low-income earners are making gets put back into the economy, whereas most of a raise for higher-income earners ends up in savings and does not actively support the economy. So much is to be said for that 15 euro level. Now we'll have to see what will actually be decided over the next couple of weeks.
All right, I guess it's a wait and see for that number. But what are investors looking at in today's markets in Europe?
Well, Ladi, they are looking at the big picture, and that is trade. We've had this back and forth over the past few days on whether or not Trump will put tariffs on German cars. First, there was a yes, then a no. Now they're apparently back on. For many investors, that is just not the environment you want for going into the market. So today, we're seeing that they're mostly staying away, well, kind of understandable, obviously. And we're really seeing this in today's trading, seeing the DAX in Frankfurt at record highs recently and down a bit today. Now we got some export sentiment numbers, but it looks like exporters, well, it looks like just looking at these numbers that exporters are becoming a little bit more optimistic. But if we do see those car tariffs come down, then the damage for automakers, of course, and many others near that sector would be tremendous. And then we would probably see this reflected over the next couple of days. So for now, as I just said, we're seeing the DAX down a bit by about 0.5%. And that leaves a couple of questions open for the next 2 trading days that we still have this week.
Lars Holter, thank you so much. All eyes on this last trading week of March. Thank you so much for giving us the details of what's happening in Europe.
Yeah, thank you, Ladi.
All right, now let's get some other stories now. First, in Kenya, we see Kenyan state-owned power producer KenGen have confirmed that the company has secured geothermal exploration rights in Zambia and Tanzania. This move further strengthens KenGen's leadership in geothermal growth in East Africa, especially as the company continues exploration and drilling activities in Ethiopia, Djibouti, and Eswatini. And we see in South Africa now, we see the country looks set for much better growth in 2025, and that's thanks to increased spending on investment, and that's according to analysts at Absa Group, though a cooling of relations with the U.S. that might dim the outlook. Africa's most industrialized economy could expand 2.1% this year, with the analysts at Johannesburg-based lender confirming that and comparing it with a 1.7% expansion forecast by the central bank. That's up from 0.7% in 2024. All right, let's get a check on what's happening with other markets that we track. Let's see what's playing out with Bitcoin now and most of the cryptocurrencies that we track. We did see that, rebound starting, but the color, at this point in the market is still trying to find a direction there. That's talking about what's playing out in the crypto market. It was red yesterday. Somehow it found a rebound, but still trying to find out what's playing out in the market. And we're still seeing some headlines there. A mysterious transfer activity there, $262,000 worth of Bitcoin. That was transferred to a U.S. exchange. And definitely investors were wondering what's going to happen, with that transfer. Is it going to be sold? And definitely that would impact the market. But let's play out now with other matters in the market. We're seeing Google also looking to enforce domestic access restrictions on 17 cryptocurrency exchanges not registered in South Korea, following a request request from the South Korean government. And we see users in the country have not been able to install or update apps related to those cryptocurrency exchanges, the likes of KuCoin, Mexi, Femex, and Poloniex. So much happening there. Let's bring in Olumide Additional now, financial market analyst. Hello, Olumide. How are you doing?
Hello, Ladi. Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, always great to have you, Olumide. So we're still seeing the market there. Bitcoin did start that big move from about $83,000. Did get to about 88,000. How are you seeing, what's playing out so far? It's still about tariffs, though.
Yeah, I think the fundamentals of Bitcoin is pretty much solid. Going on the backdrop that the asset class has been able to recover above the 85, and yeah, it's struggling to keep up on the 88K resistance line. But the intricacy around Trump tariffs is really affecting the appetite for risk and probably responsible for putting Bitcoin below 80K. But however, we've seen high buying pressure in the asset over time, probably because of the entry of BlackRock and the expansion of BlackRock Bitcoin exchange traded products in Europe. That also might increase inflows into the systemic crypto assets. I expect that the Trump tariffs will settle at some point, but it's still early to call whether Bitcoin might reclaim the 100,000 support. Interestingly, we're seeing altcoins also showing some strength. Dogecoin today broke the 20 cents resistance, and it's 30% up this month. From, if you remember that a few weeks ago, it was looking like it was going to break below the 14 cents. Now it's around 21 cents. So I think it's telling you that there's return of risk, but caution is still at the air. Institutional adoption, quite interesting. We had news about Fidelity, 800 billion assets management firm, talking filing for Solana. And we also saw XRP settling with the Security Exchange Commission in the past few days. So that has increased the momentum in the crypto market. But, President Trump has been a person of inconsistency according to the market. And that's why copper tariffs, the April 2nd tariffs implementation might put a cap on the crypto market, Ladi.
Right. And, talking about the tariffs and the announcements of tariffs and the way it impacts most of the markets that we track right now, do you think it will come to a point where the tariff announcement won't really have that impact, on the market? They'll just, shrug it off?
I don't think so, because the reason why a lot of risk players are concerned about U.S. tariffs is that the U.S. is the most powerful economy and has influence in trade. And when tariffs are put in place, it has inflationary pressure on consumer goods, which makes it less likely for the U.S. Fed to reduce interest rates, which is bad for. And also the fact that it also increases the odds for a recession. A recession in the U.S. will definitely aggravate outflows from assets like the crypto to C-level assets like U.S. Treasury. So while I understand that the players are getting tired about U.S. trade tariffs, the systemic role the U.S. play in global markets cannot be undermined.
Right. I guess tariff fatigue might set in, at some point. But thank you so much, Olumide Additional.
Thank you for having me.
All right, let's get a quick check on what the market is saying there. We're seeing Bitcoin 1.33% up, 88,000, holding up with about $246. Ethereum still holding the $2,000 psychological level. But on the flip side, Binance Coin, that's the native currency for the Binance Exchange, down 1.24%. And XRP, someone talk about XRP right there on social media, $2.46, up 1.18%. So that's how the market, that's the crypto market is looking at. Most of the markets that we track today. We'll give you an update again tomorrow on what's playing out with these markets. But thank you for watching. I'm Ladi Williams from the team right here at Channels HQ. It's bye for now.